Welcome back to my Dallas Cowboys blog. I'm continuing my review of the 2014 offseason, looking at the position groups. Today I'm looking at defensive tackle. There's a lot of problems all over the roster, and really there's so many players because it's before training camp. There's so many players I'm unfamiliar with. This is my opportunity to get to know the names on the roster before training camp begins. A lot of these names will change rather quickly, especially once camp begins immediately as they try out other players from other NFL teams once those players are cut. Alright, so the defensive tackle position has only one carryover player from the ignominious 2013 season. In the final game of 2013, the Dallas Cowboys listed Corvey Irvin, Frank Kearse, Jarius Wynn, Jason Hatcher, and Nick Hayden at defensive tackle. Dallas carried 10 total defensive linemen most of 2013, accounting for players moving between tackle and end. There are a few players on the defensive end list that can play inside, but for the most part, the players listed at defensive tackle would not play outside. There were so many different players that Dallas signed throughout 2013 to play defensive tackle that naming them all should be a future contest. Many of the players who played with Dallas in 2013 are not with any team, such as Jerome Long, who started the year as a defensive tackle and defensive end. As a sign that the player personnel department was able to assemble better talent as the season went on, all players who played defensive tackle in the final game of the season are currently under NFL contract. While letting Jason Hatcher go to Washington caught the most attention, Jarius Wynn was quietly signed away by the Buffalo Bills. Frank Kearse, released May 12th, was signed by Washington May 17th. Corvey Irvin signed with Detroit March 4th. With only one holdover player who is not a surefire starter, the defensive tackle position could be 100% remade in one off-season by the end of training camp. Alright, so this is getting to know these players. Who are these guys? There's so many undrafted free agents. This is actually a position where an undrafted free agent can realistically make the team. So starting with Ken Bishop. He's a nose tackle, 6 feet tall, from Northern Illinois. He's a rookie. 2013 consensus All-MAC selection has quickly staked a claim at the one-tech position. The one-tech takes on multiple blockers almost every play and needs to hold point on attack. Bishop has impressed the Dallas brass enough to play with the starters on many snaps in OTAs and minicamp as the one-tech, presumably as part of their plan to rotate players. Bishop is the only defensive tackle on the roster that Dallas drafted in the 7th round. He was one of those 5 players that Dallas drafted in the 2014 7th round. Devon Coleman, he's also a rookie from Arizona State. Devon Coleman lined up as a defensive end until his junior year. He then added 25 pounds to his frame and moved inside, where he posted 15 tackles for a loss and 8.5 sacks. He's said to hold up well at the point of attack and to pursue well. Like all rookies, he's not done that versus the pros yet, and his sturdiness will be made more obvious once training camp begins. It's believed he can be a formidable one-tech and offer depth at the 3-tech position. Nick Hayden, he's a 7th-year player from Wisconsin. Rather tall, 6'4". He's 2 inches taller than the Cowboys' normal player at the same position. A lot of the Cowboys, I'm making too much about the height. But so Nick Hayden, he averaged 51 snaps a game in 2013. And most teams get about 65 snaps a game on defense total. While he was reliable to make the field in 2013, he missed all of 2012 with an injury. Hayden is a seasoned veteran who's been in the NFL for 7 years after being drafted in the 6th round. He hangs in there with technique and effort. He's not particularly formidable as an athlete and does not create mismatches when he's on the field. When he's good, he's being opportunistic, and the 3-tech is making opportunity for him. While not an exciting player, he offers serviceable run defense. There were times last year where Drake Nevis was playing the 1-tech, and the fan base saw what not having a serviceable deep run defense is like. I have a link to an article by Raph that you can find when you follow the link to my blog post. Alright, so now we're on to Terrell McClain. He's from South Florida, 4th year in the NFL. Like the last 3 players listed, Terrell McClain is in Dallas to compete at the 1-tech position. A 3rd-round pick by Carolina in 2011, he struggled as a rookie and underwhelmed coaches in the 2012 camp. He has shown some penetrating ability, was ultimately cut at the end of 2012 camp. He spent 2012 in Houston and then with New England Patriots and played all of 2013 in Houston. He posted 8 tackles in 2013. Now in Dallas, he says he's happy to be back in a 4-3. He's actually getting a lot of snaps at the 3-tech in the last mini camp that they had. We'll see where all that shakes out. The practice roster during OTAs was jumbled. Training camp will settle in different habits and different routines, partially because there's so many injured 3-techs that there was no one actually available to practice as the 3-tech. That may have led to Terrell McClain playing as a 3-tech, or maybe he's actually emerging as a competitive 3-technique player. So now we're on to Henry Melton, 6th year in the NFL out of University of Texas. Henry Melton is the expected starter at the 3-tech position. There are so few explicit 3-techs on the roster that without Melton there to practice, many defensive ends are lining up to the 3-technique to emulate him. Melton is expected to play with great technique even if he's still recovering his strength. As of June 6th, Melton was reported to be on track to begin football practices at training camp. He's played in the Pro Bowl in 2012, was injured 3 games into 2013, and on September 23rd. And so now here he is in Dallas in 2014. So it's not like he's been out of commission for that long. All right, so Amobi Okoye, defensive tackle from Louisville, 7th year in the NFL. He's 27. He played college football when he was 16. Amobi Okoye is out with an undisclosed medical reason. He lost a lot of weight while out of football in 2013 while dealing with an undisclosed medical issue. He regained his weight but is still out with a medical issue. While he's said to be recovering well, there is no published timetable for his return to football activities. Okoye, like Melton, would play the 3 technique. When he comes back, he'll need to reclaim his conditioning and technique. He's been playing football against high-level competition for so long, first suiting up for Louisville when he was 16, that he should return like a familiar pro. That is, if he does return. Again, there's no timetable for his return from his undisclosed medical issue. So maybe 2015, maybe he's cut before training camp. We'll have to see where he is. So there's a big question mark on what Okoye can do. Now we're on to Chris Whaley, University of Texas. He's a rookie. There's a big question mark on what he can do. The third 3 technique out with injury. Jerry Jones described Chris Whaley as a medical redshirt when he was signed. He suffered his injury in November of 2013 and would be out until October according to the timetables published when he was hurt. He projects as an excellent athlete for the defensive tackle position who reminded pundits of Henry Melton, no less. Like many college scrubs who emerge as stars near the end of their careers, he put on a massive weight gain. He went in as a 215-pound freshman and left at 272 pounds. He's expected to eventually play at 290 pounds for Dallas. So ranking the defensive tackles. Fantasy land where no one is injured. Henry Melton is number 1. Amobi Okoye is number 2. Melton's been a Pro Bowler. Okoye is a highly touted draft pick, seasoned veteran. I think he can play 3-tech at a high level. All right, so Henry Melton, Amobi Okoye, Nick Hayden, Terrell McClain, Chris Whaley, Ken Bishop, Davin Coleman. Chris Whaley's projections have him ranked above Ken Bishop, but it does seem like Ken Bishop has a spot on this roster already set for him at the 1-tech. Dallas took 5 defensive tackles on the roster in 2013. With 7 defensive tackles listed right now, these players are mostly competing against players on other NFL rosters. These players aren't really competing against each other for roster spots as it stands. But at the end of camp, they could be replaced by players Dallas signs from other teams' roster cuts. With Chris Whaley likely out for all of 2014 and Amobi Okoye having no schedule, there seems to be a warm bed for 5 defensive tackles on the active roster. Dallas will mix its top 3 veterans, Melton, Hayden, and McClain, with 2 rookies in Ken Bishop and Davin Coleman. On one hand, this position looks like it has 5 usable players. This also means that there is no depth past those 5. Dallas does not appear to have any camp body type players at this position. Those spaces are occupied by injured Whaley and Okoye. If Okoye does come back, there should be plenty of room on the practice squad for Coleman, with Bishop getting the nod over him because he was drafted. While the one tech is less celebrated, it is seemingly more specific to the players. Hayden, McClain, and Bishop should do their best at the one tech. Hayden has taken more seriously than McClain. Hayden has to be taken more seriously than McClain at this point, as McClain is not any more celebrated than Hayden and is changing positions. The 3-tech has a few players in the defensive end position that can line up there, including Tyrone Crawford, Ben Bass, and Ben Gardner. Right now, without Melton or Okoye, the best 3-techs on the roster are Tyrone Crawford, Ben Bass, and Ben Gardner, in that order. Ben Bass may transition to 3-tech permanently, while Crawford and Gardner will still most likely end up at defensive end. All right, thank you very much. So post any of your comments below, or make your own video and talk Dallas Cowboys with me. All right, I'll talk to y'all later.